Yeah, so hopefully everything is good. How much time has elapsed? Okay, so let's move on towards our topic of Gaussian integrals. Okay, so Gaussian integrals are also very useful while solving some physics problems. By the way, this is lecture number 13 of physics optional paper 2. Okay, and this lecture is also going to be short only because I have other priorities as well, and I have doubts on WhatsApp as well. Okay, so now the thing is that, okay, so Gaussian integrals, number one, you have to mug up this without going into their proof. Okay, e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n, okay, dx. I will explain each and every term, which is equal to 1 into 3 into 5 into 7 and so on up to 2n minus 1, okay, and divided by 2 to the power n plus 1, right? And over here there is a term which is called as pi divided by a to the power 2n plus 1, okay. Now this is a u1 function. What is this u1 function? Why it is u1 function? Because x to the power 2n is there, okay. Even function is defined as a function. A function is even, you know this very well, that a function is even if f of minus x is equal to f of x, okay. F of minus x, if it comes out to be equal to f of x, then the function is even. So clearly if you put minus x over here, if you put minus x over here, so it will again become x square only, because minus x square and x square both are yielding x square only, because minus into minus will become plus, okay. And over here also x to the power 2n is there, right? So as x to the power 2n is there, even if you put minus x over here, you know this very well that when the power is even, okay, when the power is even, let me write over here this x to the power 2n, when minus x will be put in its place, okay, when minus n will be put in its place, so I can write this thing as x square to the power n, okay, and I will write this thing as minus x square power n, right? Then this minus x square will again turn to x square only, because minus into minus will become plus. So again I will yield x to the power 2n only, okay. So that's why this is even function, because even after putting minus x in the place of x, you are getting the same function. So this is even function. So in case of even function, your this Gaussian integral turns out expands like this, okay. Your Gaussian integral expands like this. So if the value of 2n is suppose 4, then n will be equal to what? N will be equal to 2, right? So you will put n equal to 2 over here also, and n equal to 2 over here also, and n equal to 2 over here also. So what will this turn into? 2 into 2, 2 into 2, 4 minus 1, 3. That means we will expand up to here, okay. Then again when 2 is put in this, when 2 is put in this, you will get 2 to the power 2 plus 1, okay. So 2 to the power 3 will come over here, and over here a to the power 2n plus 1, 2 2s are 4 plus 1 5, so a to the power 5 will come over here. Similarly, if instead of this 4, suppose if I take 6, then what will happen? Clearly your n value will be equal to 3 then, right? Now never ever do this mistake of taking 2n equal to 5. It is not an odd number, beta. It is not an odd number. That's why I have written 2n in order to denote even numbers specifically. Okay. So never ever take this do this mistake of 2n plus 2n equal to 5, taking 2n equal to 5, because clearly I have stated one thing beforehand, that it is even function. I have stated this beforehand, and above that, if you take n 2n equal to 5 and n will be equal to 2.5, 5 by 2 means 2.5. So if you put it over here na, you won't get any significant thing. If you put it over here n equal to 2.5, then you will basically get 4. But we know this very well that it is 1 into 3 into 5 into 7 like that. So if I put n equal to 2.5 over here, so I will get 4, and 4 is not at all there in this series. 4 is not at all there in this series. So there will be this 2n equal to 5 will be meaningless. So never take that. Okay, so remember this thing in your mind, bear this thing in your mind. So what have I told is integration 0 to infinity e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n dx. Okay, this has come out to be equal to your 1 into 3 into 5 and so on and so forth up to 2n minus 1. Okay, and in the denominator it is like this, and again over here it is like this, pi over a to the power 2n plus 1, right? So what if I change these limits? What if I change these limits, this limit and this limit? What if I change the limits of integration? So it is very clear that in that case, suppose if I take minus infinity to infinity integration of the same function e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n. Okay, this is 2n. Okay, 2n dx. Okay, 2n dx. If instead of 0 to infinity I am taking minus infinity to infinity. Now you might have learnt in your lower classes maths that this thing can clearly be written like minus infinity to 0 e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n dx. Okay, you can write it like this, and then in the addition you might write like this. This you have learnt in your lower classes. Okay, so it is very clear that it is basically what? It is basically even function. It is even function. So by the property of even function, by the property of even function, this and this are equal, by the property of even function which you have learnt in your 11th standard maths. Okay, by the property of even function which you have learnt in your 11th standard maths, the two quantities in the box, are equal. So clearly if they are equal, I can write it to be 2 times of this one. I can write it to be 2 times of this one. So I am writing 2 times of 0 to infinity e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n dx. Okay, so this is the thing which you ultimately got, right? So clearly if I want to write, now you came to know this, that this quantity has come out to be equal to this. So let me write on the next slide. Okay, let me write on the next slide that what we have learnt is minus infinity to infinity e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n dx. Okay, that is equal to 2 integration 0 to infinity. Okay, e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n dx, right? then again you will come to this result that this is the thing which we got through the definition of even function. Now I have told you in the previous slide. What have I told you in the previous slide? I have told you in the previous slide that this quantity is equal to this quantity. This quantity is equal to this quantity. I told you in the this slide. So on the next slide, I can clearly write. In the next slide, I can clearly write. Okay, because this is the term which we found out in the previous slide. So I can clearly write divided by 2 to the power n plus 1 square root of pi 8 divided by a to the power 2n plus 1. Okay, then these two these two will come in the denominator. Okay, these two and one of the two from here will cut and it will yield you 2 to the power n. So you can remember this formula that this thing comes to be equal to all this stuff. Okay, and these are gone, it becomes 2 to the power n. Okay, so it is equal to this. You have to remember these things because these will be useful in solving your problems. These will help you in solving your problems. Okay, now the second property, this was the first property by the way. Now we come towards the second property, that if it is an odd function, 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 odd numbers are represented like 2n plus 1. Okay, where n is an integer. So odd numbers are represented like that. Now this is basically your odd function, and when you have the result, ready-made result, which mathematicians have already found out, and its proof is there in the maths optional syllabus, but its proof is not in the physics optional syllabus. Okay, so if you so don't be interested in the proof of this. Okay, this is clearly an odd function. This is clearly an odd function, right? Now what happens if I take minus infinity to infinity for the same function? For the same function, if I take minus infinity to infinity, if I take, then what will be the result that we need to find out? So clearly you can see this thing, that it will be minus infinity to 0 e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n plus 1 dx. Okay, plus what will this be equal to? 0 to infinity e to the power minus a x square x to the power 2n plus 1 dx, right? Now you know this very well, that this quantity is an odd function and it is equal to this. But from the property of odd function which you have learnt in your lower classes, okay, by the property of odd functions which you have learnt in the lower classes, this term and this term are negative, means additive inverse of each other. Additive inverse means it will be minus of 0 to infinity. Okay, e to the power minus a x square, they are additive inverse of each other. That simply implies that dx. Okay, and not equal to, sorry, this term will again add in it. Okay, this is nothing special, it is 11th standard even function and odd function property. through that we have basically arrived at this result. Okay, and when you add these two, it is going to yield you 0. Okay, so for odd function, minus infinity to infinity summation means integration, not summation, that is yielding you 0, and 0 to infinity yields you this thing. Okay, so just remember these results, you have no other alternative. If you try to go into those proofs, you will lose a lot of time, and already you are falling short of time. This UPSC exam is an exam, it is such an exam that everyone falls short of time in this exam. Okay, there is no one in this world who feels that the UPSC exam is like Chane Mure. No one feels like that. It's not a Chane Mure exam. Okay, Chanimure means taken for granted or something like that, very easy to crack. Okay, like our CSIR net exam. Okay, it is very easy to crack, right? Even then, some student can't even crack the CSR net exam also. It is so easy to crack. Still, some of the students are able to fail in it also. So leave apart UPSC. Okay, if you go to the net and search, then UPSC exam is the second toughest exam of the world. Okay, UPSC exam is second toughest exam of the world. Only one exam is tougher than UPSC, and that exam is some law exam. Okay, some law exam of some Scandinavian country na, for the appointment of judges in the Scandinavian countries. There is an exam for lawyers and judges. That exam is even tougher than UPSC, according to the internet result. But second toughest exam of the world is UPSC. Okay, so you have to remember this thing. But it no way means, it does not mean that I cannot crack this exam as it is the second toughest exam of the world. So that's why I cannot crack this exam. It is not like that. Okay, you can crack this exam, even a person not so intelligent, a common low IQ person, medium IQ person can also crack this exam. Only thing is you need to be committed towards your goal. Okay, so this result also you have to mug up. Okay, mug up this result. Don't go into its proof. Don't go into its proof. Because when I used to teach all this stuff uh, in online mode na, in the paid platform, once upon a time when I used to teach all this stuff, then a lot of students used to make very hue and cry over this. Sir, what is the proof of this? Sir, what is the proof of this? Every class one or two students will ask. But let me tell you, if you are so much interested in the proof of these things, then just take maths as an optional subject. You are at a wrong place. Okay, just take maths as an optional subject if you are interested in the proof of all these things. Okay, because it is a part of maths optional, not our job. Okay, a physics optional person must have knowledge of this much only, that this result is equal to this. You have to literally mug up only. Okay, don't need to go into a proof. And no, never in the exam commit a mistake of doing this integration on the place. What do some students do? They perform this integration in the physics optional paper. They perform this integration in the paper. Do you think the paper will be completed in that 3 hours? Do you think so? Not at all. The paper will not be completed in the 3 hours if you do not mug up this result. If you do not mug up this result, it is not in your fingertips, then surely you are going to fail this exam. Okay, because in the 3 hours you cannot perform this integration and put the limits and do all those stuff. It is very difficult. Okay, so remember this thing. Now this is a second now how did this come? How did this come? This came from the definition of even function. Okay, how did this come from the definition of even function? You can write this to be minus infinity to 0 plus 0 to infinity integration, like that. Okay, this is not theta, it is 0. Okay, so after you write like this, clearly this term will be equal to this term because it is even function. As it is even function, so these two terms will be equal. So clearly I can write it to be 2 times of this term, and this term I have already marked up the result. So I will just substitute that result over here, and after I substitute that result over here, I get square root of pi by a. This is the third Gaussian integral. All these three, above three integrals where Gaussian integrals helpful in solving physics optional numericals. Okay, so this is the thing, and now write a note over here. Write a note over here that apart from the results in lecture 12 and 13, some Laplace, some integrals need the formula of need the formula of Laplace transforms. These formulas will be covered. These formulas will be covered in coming classes. Okay. So I will end the class over here. And someone had asked me that you said, sir, that 48 optionals are there in physics. Not sorry, 48 optionals are there in UPSC. Okay, UPSC has 48 optionals, and in the previous class you told the names of top 5 scoring optionals. In the previous class you told the names of top 5 scoring optionals. Then, sir, what is the 48th rank? Which optional is there at the 48th rank? Someone was asking out of curiosity that which optional lies at the 48th rank, means least scoring optional. Least scoring optional. Oh, which is the least scoring optional out of all these optional 48 optionals? Okay, so the least scoring optional is Sanskrit literature or literature. Okay, 48th least scoring optional, it is nothing but Sanskrit literature optional. Sanskrit literature optional is the 48th one, and it is the least scoring optional. The reason is very clear. Reason is very clear that Sanskrit is a complicated language. That's why Sanskrit is a complicated language. Even if you forget an anuswar, okay, even if you forget an anuswar, even if you make the mistake of matra, okay, you are gone completely. And Sanskrit is so sensitive language that even a Chandra Bindu can make you fail the exam. Okay, Sanskrit literature optional is not a joke. Okay, so that's the reason. Still, it is the lowest scoring optional out of all the 48 optional. Still, there are in the history of India, there have been two IS officers. There have been two IS officers who have taken this optional and cracked the UPSC. Okay, there are only two IS officers in the history of India. Okay, so which optional you take in the life does not matter. Okay, only thing is you must be proficient enough in that optional. Okay, and proficiency does not mean that you are going into the depth. Proficiency just means that you have done enough to crack the exam. Okay, that means proficiency. Proficiency does not mean that you are going into the depth of the subject, a depth which is not required for the exam. It does not mean like that. Okay, you are smart enough to crack the exam. That is what is meant by proficiency. Okay, so thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.